Okay, we are live.
Yes. Hello, hello,
Great.
everyone. I'm trying to turn
Welcome.
on Instagram as well,
Welcome.
and I can't find a go live button. So maybe we're not gonna do live on Instagram. Sorry. Oh, maybe we're on live. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Hello,
Great.
everyone, and welcome. I'm Natsuyo Lipschutz, and I'm so delighted to host today's LinkedIn Live for AAPI Heritage Month. And first, I'd like to know where everyone is connecting from. And what's your first language? Is it English or is it something else? Please type in the comment section. And if you have any questions throughout this live event, feel free to ask questions in the comment section. We'll pick them up and answer as much as we can. So, today's conversation is about something many people experience but don't always talk about openly: finding your voice on the global stage. Many non native English speakers, especially Asians like us, grow up with values like humility, harmony, and not standing out too much. But that global stage often asks, the totally opposite of us: to speak up, to take space, and to stand out.
Mm-hmm.
So today we want to explore a simple but powerful question: how do you stay true to who you are while stepping into a bigger stage in the world? And oh, by the way, at the end of our live session today, you will receive special gifts that all three of us prepared especially for you. So stick around until the very end. So,
Yes.
how do we stay true to who we are while stepping into the global stage? To explore the question, I'm joined by my dear friends and fantastic Japanese global voices. And first, let me briefly introduce myself. I'm Natsuyo Lipschutz, and I help global leaders and their teams transcend cultural norms and transform cross-cultural barriers into high-performance drivers. And I do so through keynote speaking, corporate training, coaching, and e-learning programs. In 2024, I became the first and so far only Japanese certified speaking professional, or CSP, which is the highest professional speaker designation conferred by National Speakers Association. And I'm also a breast cancer survivor, a mother of a teenage girl, that's tough, and a competitive ballroom Latin dancer. So some people call me the culture choreographer. Okay, now
Mm.
our first guest is Hiro Iwamoto. Hiro is the first totally blind sailor in history to cross the Pacific Ocean. And he's also a keynote speaker and the founder of Global Arigato Project. Welcome, and please introduce yourself, Hiro-san.
Hello, everybody. Nice to be here to join this event. And my name is Hiro Iwamoto, and I'm currently living in San Diego, California. And we moved San Diego 20 years ago from Tokyo. And I have been working as a keynote speaker, telling my experience of my selling and losing my sight to encourage people. So thank you for joining us today.
Oh, thank you, Hiro.
Uh-huh.
And
Yay.
our second guest is Minami Yusui. Minami is one of the very rare Japanese Broadway performers and also a keynote speaker on resilience and the founder of You Project. Welcome, Minami, and please introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Natsuyo-san and Hiro-san. My name is Minami Yusui, and I'm an international speaker, Broadway performer, and founder of You Project. And I was born and raised in Ishikawa, Japan. If I don't know if anybody has been there, it's very beautiful. And my journey took me from 88 auditions before booking my very first job, all the way to performing on Broadway in productions such as The King and I, Miss Saigon, and My Fair Lady at Lincoln Center. And today I speak globally on confidence, leadership presence, and what it truly means to keep showing up, especially under pressure. So I'm so excited to be here with you and looking forward to this conversation. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thank you. Well, thank you so much. So each of us, all three of us, come from quite different backgrounds and quite different worlds, right? But we share one thing in common: besides being a non-native English-speaking Japanese keynote speaker. So at some point, we all had to find our voice on a global stage. So let's start with cultural identity. Many Asians grow up with values like humility, harmony, and not standing out too much, right? Like I said before. But when we step onto a global stage, especially in Western environments, the expectations can be very different. So how have you navigated that tension between staying true to your cultural values or who you are or how you were raised and adapting to global expectations? I'll start with Minami.
Okay. Yes. So I was just remembering, I just spoke at Princeton last week at a convention for educators, but it took me all the way back to my high school student days, because that was the first time I visited Princeton, New Jersey. And I spent 2 weeks with high school students from Japan and America. And I clearly remember back then, when I was asked for my own opinion, I didn't have any. I could answer the right answers. I could give you right answers that the teacher would give you, okay.
What's expected of you, right?
I was so used to memorizing what's right or what's correct or what's expected. But I didn't really grow up, train myself to have my own opinions. And when we had this conversation and discussion with American high school students and other Japanese high school students, I didn't have any. And I felt so embarrassed and ashamed. And I started wondering, what is my opinion? So it was something, and that experience changed my life. And many years later, I'm so happy to go back there and as a speaker and share my story and messages. But it took me many, many years to give myself permission to form my own opinion and actually speak and share it with people.
Yeah.
So I think that have the pressure to feel like you have to be right, correct all the time. And that really diminishes our own voice. And that was some huge adjustment or a shift I had to make. So the humility, trying to stay the same with everyone, right? Like the humility and harmony and not standing out. But on global stages, you are asked, like, what is your opinion? And you want to be able to speak and own your own opinion.
Right.
Yeah, so that was a huge shift.
Having your own opinion and being humble are two different things, right? So it's not like standing out so much and you're really voicing you're demanding your opinion. That's a different story. So be assertive about your own opinion. And you said own your opinion and be assertive about it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So Hiro-san, what about you?
Well,
have you navigated any tension?
For me, it's very, very difficult first, what kind of information or how much I should tell about my opinions I remember when I first, studied at San Francisco State University years ago, at the class, I was taking a special ed classes and professor asked, what's your opinion and what do you think? And I was just listening and I don't know my opinion, but slowly, but I started talking about, what's going on in special ed for the visually impaired in Japan, but they started listening. So I realized, even my English is not perfect and slow, but it takes longer than, American speaks. But, they listen to it. That's the first step. They listen. So I can open my.
Oh, I guess Hiro-san has
ideas and thoughts and. That's the beginning of, and I felt I can open my mind and tell my ideas. And that now helping me to give my idea on my, keynote speech. So,
Yeah, exactly. So it's very similar to what Minami-san was talking about, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, you give yourself permission to speak up, but before you speak up, you have to form your own opinion,
Uh-huh.
and you kind of have to give yourself permission to have your opinion as well. And that's
Yes.
really important in global
Mhm.
stage. You can't be just passive and listen all the time. Listening is very important. So keep that skill, that listening skill. But at the same time, you need to be really assertive about and confident about who you are and what your opinion is. And Minami-san mentioned the word shift, right? We all shift, and shifting is not betraying who you are, but that's actually being human, right? And from a cross-cultural point of view, I think of all of us like an onion, not the smell, the layers.
Uh-huh. Yes.
We're all layered with influences from many different backgrounds, like our upbringing, community, education, social class, experiences, and all of that are layered, and we end up forming our own unique, one-of-a-kind culture. And I call that the culture of one. And to really understand each other, you need to get to the core. And also to understand yourself, you need to peel back those layers of onions and reveal the core. And my core is still Japanese, and that doesn't change. But the layers around it shift depending on the environment I'm in, and I have been in. And on a global stage, I might lead differently than I would in a Japanese boardroom. And that's not like code switching in a way that feels fake, but it's actually me being more myself, just adapting, because I'm drawing on more of my layers. And depending on the situation, I pick on different layers. So I think the mistake a lot of us make is thinking we have to replace our cultural identity to succeed globally. But you don't replace your onion. You just learn which layers or layers to bring forward in which room. So shifting the perspective from I have to choose to I get to choose which layer I would bring forward. That changed a lot for me.
Yeah, layer is very important. Yeah, what you said is very important. So don't feel bad you're different people. That the first step we have to think ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everyone has a unique, and everyone has some ideas and powerful part. So
Yeah. Being
Yeah.
different can be your brand. So
right.
that takes me to the next question. So I want to flip
Wait.
the question. Oh yeah.
Can I pause for a
Minami.
second? Sorry. So,
Yeah, sure.
just very technical thing, and I noticed that on YouTube it's live, but LinkedIn I'm not seeing it's live. So I just want to make sure I know it's gonna be recorded, but I just wanted to make sure if there is anything that we can do to make sure LinkedIn part it still says tap to join. YouTube is your channel. It's on.
Yeah.
I just wanted to double check.
Interesting. Yeah, it says looks like the stream was deleted on LinkedIn. I don't know why it's deleted.
Oh, maybe because it started, or
I have no
event will
idea.
start soon.
Really?
But
Okay.
your YouTube
Well,
channel is on, so it's there, so we can share
okay.
it later. Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna share. Sorry, everyone who's been
No worries.
waiting on LinkedIn. I don't know how to fix it.
Yeah, it's
So
very tricky.
yeah,
So,
it's
yes.
really tricky.
But we
Yeah,
have
sorry
it,
about
so they can watch it at their own. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I apologize ahead of time.
Everything,
after
we need experience, so that's okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
We practiced too. We did practice.
We are good progressing. Yeah.
We practiced too. We're getting better.
Yeah. We are
Yeah.
getting
This is
Yeah.
what it takes to show up. We're
Yeah.
doing it.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
better
And
and
then
better.
we
Right.
pivot. Yeah.
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 All
So
right.
I was saying, what was I saying? Oh, the being different, right? So Hiro-san made a
And
point
layers
about
you get
being
to
different
choose.
and layers. Yeah.
Mhm.
So so being different. So what part of being Japanese or Asian actually became an advantage in your global journey? So you
Yeah.
want to go first?
Yes. Yeah. So I have a story about my audition for Chicago, the musical Chicago. I think many people have heard of that musical, but
Mhm.
in America,
I
there are
love
so
the
many
musical.
wonderful, great, many professional theaters in America. Many great ones in San Diego, actually, and New York, of course. In New York will be Broadway, but I auditioned for the show production of Chicago in North Carolina, but audition happened in New York, and
Wait, so musical
I
Chicago in North Carolina, audition in New
produced
York.
in
Okay.
audition. They all come to New York to audition for actors, find actors, but it was produced in North Carolina, so it was not a Broadway production, and I would go in and dance with everyone, and then because everybody's talented, director would ask, "What else can you do?" And I felt like I thought singing and dancing and acting were busy enough, but then there are so
Mhm.
many talented people. They come from all over the world. So some people would say, "I twirl fire, I swallow fire, I do acrobatics," and I'm like, "Oh my goodness, I have to be able to do all of that." And I felt like I was so like I didn't have any strength or like anything unique about me. But then I wanted to just make the room laugh because there were like 30 performers there. But I said, "I speak Japanese." Like that was my last like reason.
Mm.
And then everybody laughed because there was nobody else who spoke Japanese. So that became my American joke. And I thought I didn't get the job at all. But then I got a callback, meaning I was invited to move on to the next round. And they asked me to do an authentic Chicago accent and memorize and learn 6 different monologues,
Ooh.
meaning 6 different characters' lines in a couple hours. And I felt like there was no way I was listing up all the things I couldn't do compared to other native speakers. But then at one point when I went to all the way bottom, I was so like disappointed. There's nothing special about me. But then I flipped the question saying, then what is it that only I can do? What is it that only I can do? Instead of listing out all the things I cannot do and everybody else can, I started asking, what is it that what is the quality that only I can bring? And I remember the moment that when I made everyone laugh by saying I speak Japanese, which is so normal and normal part of me, but then to everyone it was very unique. So I thought, oh, maybe I can use this part quality. So, and in Chicago, there's one character that is Hungarian. She's not American and she doesn't speak English, so she
Yeah,
speaks Hungarian.
the one that goes, right?
Yes,
Or,
right, yes.
right,
But
right,
then
right.
there are not many American actresses who speak Hungarian, so they all learn these sounds, right? But I thought, what if a native speaker of a foreign language play that role? Like if I can actually speak a foreign language, not non-English language, and if I bring myself to the role, what would happen? And they wanted that production to be very authentic to the story, meaning it takes place in Chicago, so everybody should be speaking in Chicago accent, and then it takes place in the 20s, so the makeup, the dance style, or the facts, they were really honoring the actual historical facts. So I looked up, and there to make sure that there were Japanese people and immigrants and residents in Chicago, and I printed out the data. There were Japanese people living in Chicago in the 20s. I highlighted that part, and then I brought it to the audition. And I also translated the Hungarian monologue into English and then into Japanese. And then I made the role into Japanese, and then I showed up to the room and then said, "Hey, I learned all of these 6 characters, but also brought a Japanese version of Hanyak, this character. Would you like to hear it?" And then the director was willing to let me do it. And then after I finished, and I also said, by the way, I have this resources and like facts to back up that this
Wow.
character can exist in this era. And then she loved it. And at the end, she said, genius. And then she gave me the role, and she changed the role into Japanese.
Wonderful.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you actually did the monologue in Japanese.
Yeah.
You
Because of you
never
are
know.
Japanese, you could get that. Yeah.
Right.
That's
And if
amazing.
Right.
Thank you.
Amazing.
If I kept apologizing, right? If I kept feeling I was
Right.
not enough because I was a foreigner, or I don't speak English as fluently as others, I would never found that solution.
Right.
But because I flipped the question, say, like, what if these things that I think I consider a negative points, what if these are my advantage, right? What if this can be my edge? Then
Yeah.
the game changed, and then the reality changed. My action changed, and my reality changed, and and I actually could contribute to the director's very creative direction, right? They have never had any product. Nobody has ever seen a production like that. So
Yeah.
you never know,
So
but
the
it
whole
really
production
starts.
is elevated.
Yes. Yeah. So it really never, we start with how we own ourselves, our own worth, and bring it to the table. So yeah, that's something I learned, and that was the game changer. And since then, my audition game really changed because I stopped being apologetic and just bring my whole self.
Wow.
Amazing. I have a very similar experience, not audition, but in my keynote. So, I always feel when I'm on stage delivering a keynote speech to hundreds or thousands of native English speakers, and I feel like, okay, what if they hear my accent, and if they don't understand me, and it's almost like chips on my shoulders. So one day I decided to take this strategy that I talk about cross-cultural communication, right? So as soon as the MC introduces me, I get on stage and I start speaking Japanese. 皆さんこんにちは、ノブと夏代です。今日は異文化についてお話をします。And everyone stares at me like, what?
Yes,
And then
I love it.
I stop like, wait, what? Okay, I switch to English. Do you understand me now? And everyone goes, yes, yes. And then I say, we wish. In a culturally diverse environment, just because the same language is spoken doesn't mean that we can truly connect. So I make a point. So I use my Japanese as my surprising introduction, and I really capture the audience's attention, and I make a point within the first 30 seconds. So since I implemented that strategy, it's really unique to me. Only I can do it. And it's a weight off my shoulders as well, that I manifested to the entire audience that I'm Japanese, and this is who I am, and they hear my accent too from the get-go. So it's a win-win. So talking about shifting or flipping the question, flipping the situation to use what you used to think as a disadvantage into an advantage.
Yeah. And you're
Feel
fully owning your identity.
Yeah,
So beautiful.
absolutely.
Yeah, for me, about the same thing. I'm Japanese, so I was told many times, that if you think it's a disadvantage, it's gonna be your advantage.
Right.
When I lost my sight, when I was 16, I was down, and I told my mom, "Why you gave me birth? Because I didn't want to live anymore because of losing my uncertainties and fear and so on." But mom, my Japanese ways, she said there might be meaning on that. So I started looking for, and she said, to encourage other people through your challenges. Those are the basic of my as a Japanese. I have been talking about those stories, and my life would change 180 degrees, and I started challenging a lot of things That's and say arigato to the weak point you think, and then the weak point will be, powerful things later. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that changed my life. And also, I tried to sail across the Pacific first time in 2013, and we had a collision with the whale. And it both sank and floating around in the life raft for 11 hours before the self-defense force came to rescue us. And I felt, what? Whale hit a boat? I hate it. Well, I had even resentment on that. Well, why? I was asking, well, in the Pacific Ocean, that's small. It's huge. Why you didn't, swim by 5 meter, 10 meter away, even, you hit a boat. But
couldn't you see us? Couldn't
Yeah.
you notice
Get
us?
away.
Just
yeah,
avoid our ship.
why? But again, there might be meaning on that, and change it to make my future success 100 times bigger. And I tried second time and became successful. So those are because of instead of keep having a resentment or hatred. I changed that. That's I think background of my Japanese culture that it turned into. So now the even bad happening event, try to say arigato. That's the speech I have been telling.
Yeah.
Yes.
Saying arigato or be grateful for something that's a really difficult situation is hard to do. And flipping the script is something you need to practice, or I mean, how
That's
how do you flip your mindset first so that you can flip the script?
I always say, that there are 3 levels of gratitude. Arigato. First level is everyone can say arigato. The good things and something event made you happy, and someone made you happy. Those are person who gave you a gift. That's arigato. That's ordinary people can do it. That's level 1, easiest one. And level 2 is the change taken for granted things to arigato. That's level 2. Yeah. And level 3 is bad happenings, and the person you might have a resentment or hatred. If you try to be neutral, that's the great thing, before having a gratitude. So I hated the whale, but I try to be neutral first, right? And there
It's
might
almost
be
like
meaning.
Zen state of mind.
Yeah. So now I've been telling those experience, if you can have level 1, level 2, level 3, especially level 2 is very important to change your life. Change taken for granted things to arigato. That changes. So those are, having, because of my background is Japanese, I think. Yeah. So
yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Being neutral.
Yeah.
That's so tough.
And
Neutralizing
neutral,
is the
even
hardest part.
level 3 arigato is very tough, but try.
Yeah, it's almost like you need to be enlightened.
Right.
Ta-da!
Yeah. That's interesting. That reminds me of my late father's teaching, which I actually talk about in my keynote at the very end. So his philosophy was seiwa kon. And what that means is say, like sincerity, but I translate this into a cross-cultural context, and I explain say means sincere curiosity. So when you're in a global environment or a cross-cultural situation, we often face differences and some conflicts. But instead of saying, oh, that's common sense, they're wrong, take a pause and say to yourself, that's interesting. What's in this gap? So that's sincere curiosity, say.
Mm-hmm.
And wa is listen and harmonize. Well, wa itself means harmony in Japanese, right? But I translate it into listen and harmonize. So in a cross-cultural situation, you need to listen beyond the words, not just listening to what was said, but what's not being said. And to do so, you need to ask some good questions so you can uncover what's not being said and find harmony in a group or within that situation. So that's listen and harmonize, wa. And the last one, kan, is tamashi in Japanese, or spirit. But I translate it into yes and spirit. So instead of rejecting someone's idea by just saying, that's that, yeah, but we have all done that, right? But I think blah blah blah. But instead, accept the differences, even if they're crazy ideas, by saying yes and then build those differences and build on each other's unique strengths. And that's yes and spirit, kon. So altogether, say wa kon. So that with neutrality, or being removing all the layers or the filters or bias, and be neutral and have a say-wa kon mindset, then you can, I believe we can transcend our differences even in this polarized world. And I think so. I think the neutrality is really important, and that's a very Japanese kind of
wow, harmony.
You grew up
yes.
in Japan, you got those. You have learned. You have had the chance to learn those things.
Yeah, absolutely.
And arigato, it means, original meaning is just being alive is wonderful. Just being alive in a miracle. Arigatashi, aru means the being, right? Gatashi is in the miracle, scarcely. So just arigato has a beyond gratitude, meaning beyond gratitude. So just being alive is wonderful thing, So if individual people think in just being alive is wonderful thing, who wants to kill yourself, so suicide zero. It's gonna be this world will be. So a person in front of you being there in a miracle. If individual people start thinking that way, this world will be peaceful.
Right.
Those are because of Japanese. I want to spread the word of the original meaning of arigato to make this world peaceful. So I started Global Arigato Project, nonprofit organization. So because of my background and as a Japanese, so so,
that's really wonderful.
Yes.
So we kind of sound like, we're confident, and we know what we're talking about. But I'm sure, at least I have some self-doubt and multiple challenges. And even highly accomplished people experience moments of doubt, right? Was there ever a moment, I'm sure there were multiple, when you question whether you truly belonged on the stage you were stepping into, and what helped you to move forward anyway? Minami-san.
Yes, many moments, but then I tend to broaden my focus, so bigger purpose, or purpose beyond myself. When I shifted, let's say if it's a Broadway show, Broadway stage, it is a miracle. It just being able to work as a performer, as an actor anywhere in America is a miracle, and Broadway is especially a miracle. And a lot of pressure, and I still pinch myself, but when I put focus on myself, then you become self-conscious, but then or imposter syndrome creeps up. But then if when I make it not about me, when I make it about the audience, the people who are there, then I feel the great responsibility to show up and then share the story, because this story could change their life. And always people ask me, you show up 8 shows a week, same story, same lines, like, do you not get bored ever, or like do you get tired of doing it? But actually no, that's the most beautiful things about live theater is every show is different, because humans, we feel differently every day, right? We eat different things, the temperature, the conditions, the weather, and then
And the audience is different.
yes, right, multiplied by thousands of audience members. So then our chemistry is different, so that our energy is different every time. And we always remind ourselves in the on backstage, when somebody is starting to get jaded, we'll say, remember, this show could be somebody's very first Broadway show or a show ever. And there's never second, first time, right? This could be their very first time, and that could really change their life. Or somebody might be having a really bad day, and these 3 hours can actually really lift up and lift their spirit up. And also, this could be somebody's very last show that they'll ever see in their life. How important is that? How that then suddenly this show becomes a very special, one and only experience that we get to serve. Then I think shifting my focus from myself to the purpose and the people who will be impacted, like we will make impact on, that it really takes the pressure off of me and makes me show up differently and fully committed.
Absolutely. It's the same thing with keynote speaking too. So you're on stage, all the eyes are on you, and sometimes you're on a spotlight. And if you make it about yourself, then just your ego will grow, and you're going to forget the whole purpose of you being there. You know, as a speaker, I always remind myself that it's not about me. It's not about some expert teaching you, what to do or how to think, but it's about the audience. What is it that they need to hear today, and what's a gift? Or I call my message present. The presentation is the present. Right, for the audience. So what's a gift that I can give to this audience? And I try to shift my focus away from myself onto the audience member, each one of them. And just like live theater, keynote speaking is also a live event. Sometimes it's virtual, but in-person event has so many people who hear my message for the first time, who need to hear my message today. So if you are a speaker who's just starting out as a speaker, you might feel, oh my God, I have to memorize everything. I have to be perfect, and I need to speak perfectly in a perfect English, and everyone is staring at me. Oh my God, right? But that's because you're focusing on yourself. But just be there as Yoda. If it's Star Wars, it's not you're not Luke Skywalker. You're Yoda. You're a guide. You're not a superhero. So you're just there as Yoda, as a messenger of the message. So that's how I try to think of myself as a keynote speaker too. What Minami-san said really resonated with me.
Yeah. So for me too, the same way, I once I started thinking about me, and after first attempt, we had a collision with the whale, and both sank, and PTSD. I didn't want to do re-challenge, but I found the meaning whale hit that boat to make my future success 1 million times bigger. So after that, not for me, but started thinking after this, I can encourage more people. So that gave me the power back, to keep going on. So I just started saying, I want to re-challenge. And I found this guy, American guy, Doug, the heard about me. What? Totally blind, tried to sail across the Pacific, and what? He almost lost his life, and he wants to do again. I want to do with him, even I haven't done sailing before. So with his passion, we tried together, and he said this: I don't have sailing experience, but I have sight. You don't have sight, but you have a sailing experience. Let's do it. So if we support each other, weak point, we can become our dream will come true. Because of that, we try to do that, and to 2019 it became successful, and my success 1 million times bigger. Totally. Yeah. So if I scared, I doubted myself, and I didn't take a first step after first fell, I wouldn't encourage as much as I have been doing now, even as a keynote speech. So even being working as a keynote speech, I doubt myself. My selling experience will, be benefit for these audience, but definitely my experience will for them. If I started changing the shifting. Looking at them, and they have been, when I started thinking about them, they have been facing struggles and difficulty. This definitely my experience will be, effective to them, effective to them, So I keep in my mind doing that. So both of you said, not focusing on myself. Focusing for others, that helps me to keep moving forward, even I doubt myself as a keynote speaker.
And it almost sounds like we all of us, all humans, have self-doubt and self-confidence. Somewhat, right? So it almost sounds like some you need when you're feeling some self-doubt, just change the gear toward self-confidence and replace the doubt with your belief, self-belief.
Believe yourself, trust yourself. And I have done, for other people who are struggling, and change the thoughts and get the confidence back. And then, even doubt will go away.
And sometimes other people will help you remove your self-doubt, right? It feels like all three of us are pretty positive, and we with experience, with so many different challenges, we became able to shift the focus from whatever is a difficult situation to something else. But sometimes you just can't get back up. Sometimes you're just I just can't do it.
Take a deep breath. Meditate.
Take a deep breath. And I would like to say, having someone by your side or on your side. And in my case, professionally speaking, I have this accountability group every single week. So I went to, I was trained as a professional speaker at a place called Heroic Public Speaking. And Heroic Public Speaking produces top level professional speakers. And you have to be a professional speaker already to take part in this program. So by the time you start the program, everyone around you is a professional speaker, pretty accomplished. And that was freaking scary, for me. And I'm like, why am I here? But we went through the rigorous program together. And even now, I went through the program in 2019 and now 2026, and I'm still meeting with 8 or 10 other heroic graduates every week as an accountability group. And we lift each other, we rehearse our pieces, we talk about speaking business challenges, and sometimes we just chat and lift up each other. So when I have that group, the accountability group, they lift me up. And even when I feel like I don't know if I'm ready for this event or I'm ready for this occasion, they ensure that you're ready for this, and you're built for
yeah.
this, you're trained for this, and you can do it. And actually, last week, I gave a keynote, and it was supposed to be a 45-minute keynote. And of course, as a keynote speaker, professional speaker, I'm trained to give a 60-minute keynote, 45 minutes, 30 minutes, 15 minutes, and just make changes, right? But this particular event was supposed to be 45 minutes, and that's the standard keynote for me. So I was rehearsing every single day and getting everything into the bones, not just a script, but the movements, the slides, and everything was so smooth. And the day before, I get the agenda, and I was looking at it, and I saw my name. Okay, so I'm the first keynote speaker, and I'm the opener, and I put it down. And then I looked at it again, and I'm like, what? It says 30 minutes. What's supposed to be 45 minutes? I'm like, okay, so that must be a mistake. And I reached out to the organizer, and they said, oh, so sorry. That the agenda was changed last week, but forgot to let you know. I'm like, okay, I only have half a day, including my sleep time, to revamp my 45-minute keynote into 30 minutes. And that's not just shortening my message, but it's 1/3 of the content.
Yes.
I needed to rework the entire experience.
Wow.
And immediately, the first thing I did was to reach out to my heroic accountability group. I'm like, oh, this is what's happening, and can I do it? I can do it, right? And everyone's like, you can do it. You're trained to do this. That's why you're professional, and you have half a day. And if you need anything, reach out today. I'm available. And that gave me assurance. I kind of a little panicky mode, but I calmed down, and on the day of, I delivered it in 29 minutes, 40 seconds.
Wow.
Congratulations.
All the message, all the talking points covered. And I even did my little dance demonstration.
Yeah.
And I even had the audience interaction. So having an accountability group or someone you can trust when you're in doubt, that's really helpful too. In my experience.
So it's very important to speak out what you want to do. Then you will see those people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that goes back to the first question, right?
Right.
If you're too modest, too humble to speak up or speak out, then you're not gonna get the help you're gonna get.
Right.
Yeah. So ask for help. Reach out.
Right.
And show up. That's so important. Yeah.
Yes.
And also, we were talking about being a non-native English keynote speaker, right? And when people work internationally, they often believe that the biggest challenge is language, especially with Japanese people. They always say, oh, my English is not enough, and I can't speak well. But from my experience working with global teams or with global people, language is usually just a surface, right? That just scratching the surface.
Yes.
So what actually, maybe we kind of said this in our conversation today already, but what do you think actually matters more than the perfect English when communicating across culture?
perfection doesn't give you the power. What you think and what you thought, even slow and with the accent, people might listen carefully so that they can get the contents and what I want to tell, So that's I always think. So perfect English and English doesn't necessarily need to give the best speech or content.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. Totally agree.
Yeah. I remind myself and others as well that I suggest that we start from the understanding that we are all human. The commonality we have is we are all human. We all have hearts. That the commonplace then it starts. The theater is that understanding the human beings and come back to those peeling back all the layers and comes back to that. Then we are not as different, and the connection starting from that connection makes the pressure, I feel that helped me at least, instead of I have to do this, meet this criteria, but still we're all human being. Let's start from there, and let's start from that, the commonplace, and then the difference started becoming less important, and my pressure that I put on myself for a language or anything else, being a foreigner or anything like that, became less important. And and I felt more connected to people when I'm with them, instead of feeling like, oh, I'm not enough. So
the thing you think is your weakness might become your power in future.
Yes.
So don't stick with it, and just it might be changed. For me, example, I'm totally blind, but middle of the night, when I go selling and racing, middle of the overnight racing, I will be more sensitive. I can more movable. Middle of the night. So here you go. Someone is looking for, I know where those are. So here you go. And they were surprised, they're looking for it. So those, I put everything in my brain, mental image, I think. I say. So everything, here you go. I know what they're looking for, and I give it to me. So like that, So the language too, even we cannot speak as perfect as the native speakers are, but that can be the power. So don't hold yourself. I cannot speak English as well as a native speaker can.
And that's who I am, right? And our messages kind of keep going back to our answers for the first question. Form your opinion, right? Like have your own opinion and speak up. And from a speaking point of view, I think what really matters is not the language ability itself, but the clarity of your message.
Yes.
You want to be clear with your opinion, what your message is. And I'm going to speak only from the public speaking point of view, but even if you have a clear opinion in your head, when you voice your opinion, the other person may not understand you clearly, because especially in a cross-cultural situation, they have different value system. So what you think is common sense or easy to understand may not be easy or common sense for the other person. So in a global environment, your common sense may not be so common. So really clear about the clarity of your message is so important when you're speaking. And I always tell all my clients that have one big message. So one big message is the one clear message that you want your audience to remember and remember well. And
repeat many times.
Repeat it too. And that one big message should be short, less than 10 words in English or 20 words in Japanese, I say. And if you talk about 10 different good points, they may be all good points, but are they going to remember at the end of the day? No. But
Too
if
many.
you focus on too many, you can't remember.
Right.
So if you focus on the one big message, of course, to really anchor that one big message, you need to have some points and reasons or examples to back up your one big message. But the overall message should be one big message and one powerful idea that you own completely in your own words. So because clarity travels across languages and cultures. But nuance gets lost in translation, but a strong, well-organized, well-owned message lands anywhere in the world. That's universal, even with a heavy accent.
Yeah.
So focus on one big message is what I always tell my clients.
So even you are not native speaker, you have a big chance to step up and to make your dream come true as a keynote speaker.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have only 5 minutes left. So let's imagine someone watching this today or later in the day, and they're talented and they have dreams, but they hesitate because of language or culture or self-doubt. What would you say, just very briefly, one-liner, what would you say to someone who is still searching for their global voice? Any advice for them? Minami-san.
Yes, I would say imagine the people who will feel heard and seen by you showing up, by speaking up and sharing your message and story. It happens on Broadway too, and there are not many Asian performers. Me showing up, no matter how insecure I was or I wasn't sure, by being there, showing up, I was actually be able to inspire audience members, little Asian girls who never thought like they belonged to stages or stories like My Fair Lady. They saw themselves in me. They saw, somebody like me could be on the stage and be a leader and perform. So you showing up, no matter how imperfect you might feel, you showing up, owning who you are and be as you are, can actually really inspire and change somebody else's life. So that became long, but imagine people who you will, who you will help feel heard and seen, and by you showing up.
So your one big message is show up.
Yes, show up. Yes.
All right, so Hiro-san, what's your one big message?
One big message is you are needed. You are needed. Everyone will be encouraged by your story, experience, who are struggling or facing difficulties and so on. Or whatever experience you have, you are needed. So if you want to work as a keynote speaker, don't hesitate. Don't hold yourself back.
Because you're needed.
You are needed. Is the message.
Amazing.
How about you?
Message, my one big message will be unapologetically you. Be unapologetically you. So your voice doesn't have to sound like anyone else's to matter globally. And in fact, your culture, your experience, your being, your unique perspective may be exactly what the world needs to hear. So be unapologetically you. Show up, and you're needed. With that, thank you, Hiro-san and Minami-san, for sharing wonderful stories and insights today.
Thank you. It was fun.
And thank you, Natsuyo-san, for hosting.
Thank you.
Natsuyo-san.
As I mentioned at the beginning, we prepared a small, actually not a small gift, it's a huge gift from all three of us, right?
Yes.
And when you, we would like to ask for a couple of your minutes to complete this survey. And at the end of the survey, you can download not one, not two, but 3 gifts from each of us. And since we only have less than a minute left, let's keep the gifts as a surprise. So if you're watching this afterwards in recording, you can still fill out this survey and receive 3 huge gifts from all 3 of us. So with that, thank you so much for joining us today for this AAPI Heritage Month conversation, and we'll see you next time.
Thank
you so much.
so much for watching.
Arigato.
Bye, arigato.
Wow. Ooh. Live. We are. Ooh. Natsuyo-san, no? We are still live, I think. But Natsuyo-san is off. Come back. Right now, Hiro-san and I are on.
Oh, really?
Yes. And it still says live. So, but yes. So, yeah, maybe